What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, holy smokes, what an absolute epic football game. Talking about a teetering, sway from one side all the way to the other side. Such an incredible environment. I was there. As you can tell, my voice is going to be a little off today because I was screaming the entire time. I mean, it was an incredible environment. It was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. Just coming back from the pandemic, football's back. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Cleveland Browns. You could not have asked for a better Week 1 matchup. It was just really cool to see how this entire game played out. And I do have to give, before we dive in and really break down some statistics and provide my thoughts, I do want to let you guys know I have the utmost respect for the Cleveland Browns. Stefanski has some stuff going. I really think that they're starting to turn that football team into something that's going to be very unique, and it's very well-rounded. We have to remember yesterday that they did not have Odell Beckham Jr., and they still put up such a tremendous fight in that game. So a lot of respect, and they really do have something cooking there for sure. And it was on notice yesterday. So mad respect to the Cleveland Browns, all their fans. You guys are going to be pretty good for the time being. So, but with that being said, we're going to dive in. We're going to talk about some things that stood out to me. I know so many people do this. I know a lot of people provide coverage on this, and I have my own opinion. I obviously was at the game, so I could see some things, and we're going to go over statistics, and based on those stats, I'm going to provide you some of my own thoughts. So, but before we dive in all that, I ask that you guys smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, comment down below, and let me know what you guys thought. Let me know your guys' opinions of the game, if they line up with mine, or if you disagree with what I'm saying. And, that's okay with me. I mean, I love talking about this stuff, and if you disagree, then that just creates talking points and makes me better as well. So let me know in the comment section what you guys thought and if you agree with my thoughts. So let's dive into this. I'm super excited. My first initial thoughts, I'm going to kind of give you to you raw. I really think that with the key players that we're missing, I really think that the Chiefs were able to, do some things that it was a little concerning finding out that the Honey Badger wasn't going to be there. And, as the captain, as a very, very major role is to be a leader, command from the back. And I think that just right there shows you that he needs to be in Kansas City for the long term. A contract should have been, on the forefront after that game. And I think, and that's not the intention. We want him to get healthy. He obviously just went through COVID and was going through that. It sounded like it was Andy Reid's decision to not play him. That puts confidence in the other players, but it showed you right there why he is a significant piece to this Kansas City Chiefs football team. But my also initial thoughts too are, it gave guys because of other injuries, it gave guys the opportunity to go out there and perform and learn from some mistakes. They probably definitely hit the film room today, and we're learning, and that's the whole point. You want to make sure you learn from your mistakes and you don't continuously make those, because as we saw yesterday, mistakes can compound and they can become worse, and it could have resulted in a loss. That's one thing that this team does not show, is the ability to really sway or let being down bother them. They always feel that they have their hand in their fight in the game. So, and when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback and the ability to make things happen, and you have wide receivers and a tight end that is just absolutely elite, that can roll out and do things and just turn plays into things that are just incredible. That's you're always in the fight no matter what, and we saw that firsthand. But it gave guys the opportunity to go out there and really kind of show this coaching staff and this fans what we're capable of doing when we are missing a huge majority of the assets on defense, and you're missing a few guys elsewhere. But we're going to dive into this. We're going to talk about it. One of the biggest pieces that I really wanted to talk about was, how the game progressed. So I'm going to pull up kind of the stats for you real quick. We're going to go through the scoring plays, and we're going to talk about how those were handled and things like that. So I'm going to pull this up for you guys, and then we're going to jump right in. Again, I apologize for my voice, guys. It's super scratchy, but when you're screaming at the top of your lungs and giving it your all, that's bound to happen. But I'm going to show you guys some highlights. I'm going to show you some clips that I also took from the game as well. This is from ESPN.com. So with 7 minutes and 53 seconds left in the first quarter, Nick Chubb did run the football in, and then there was a encroachment by Chris Jones, which I think right there was already a sway. And the reason I say that is because it could have just been 7-0. Instead, Chris jumps, and that forces the ball to move to the 1. And then obviously Kareem Hunt goes over the top, and I think that kind of changed the tone a little bit. It's already 8-0. And that's another thing too. Stefanski really showed aggressiveness in this game. He went for 2 there. There was times in the first, or even the first drive, where he went for it on 4th down. He just had the confidence, and that does show and reflect into your team. Hey, coach believes in what we're trying to do here. He believes that we can do it. And so I think that kind of really fired them up as well. And you can see that in Baker's kind of demeanor as well. The Kansas City Chiefs do drive for 10 plays, 71 yards. They did chew up 6 minutes and 2 seconds and would score a field goal with 1:51 left in the first quarter. So 8-3. As we were kind of talking yesterday, I think, my personal opinion, I was okay with going for the field goal there. I do think that it was 4th and 2. It might even have been 4th and 3. You could tell Mahomes wanted to go for it. He was asking for a play. You could see his hand gesture to the sidelines. But then Andy decides to kick that. I was okay with that. And the reason is just because I believe in the offense that we have. I believe that if you can get stops on defense, this offense has the ability to do whatever they need to do to drive down the field and score in whatever fashion. And so I was okay with kicking the field goal. I know a lot of people wanted to go for it and really try to punch it in and get to 7. But like I said, I was acceptable of the 3. If you guys wanted to go for it on 4th down, let me know down in the comments section. But then, the second quarter, the first half was kind of like a true test for this defense without some of your guys. Obviously, the Honey Badger we talked about being out. Tyrann Mathieu is a massive piece for this defense. Frank Clark, obviously, a lot of people are 50-50 on Frank. I think in this instance, I think he would have helped and been a pretty key piece to this defense, especially with how hot it was and the humidity was pretty high. I think it would have played a role with really just kind of getting guys rotated in and letting Frank kind of help out in the run game. But then obviously Nick Bolden making his first start. He was our draft pick this year, linebacker out of Missouri, with Willie Gay being out and on the IR. It was interesting to see Nick Bolden being out there. And we're going to kind of, as we're going through this, guys, I actually have the snap counts and things like that, how many plays certain players played. So we're going to recap all that. But then, Jarvis Landry, 5-yard run. It was a questionable play. I do think that it got reviewed because a lot of people saw his foot go in, but then later on we saw that the football did cross the line, and then it counted as a touchdown. It did go to commercial and came back. So that was a 6-play, 75-yard, 3-minute and 23-second drive. They scored in 13:28 in the second quarter. That put the Cleveland Browns at 15-3. Then, it seemed like a pretty methodical drive for the Chiefs. Some pretty quick passes, not slants, quick passes, some dump offs to Clyde. And we were able to see Patrick Mahomes run in a 5-yard touchdown. It was 12 plays, 75 yards, took 6 minutes and 58 seconds. They scored with 6 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second quarter. That would then make the score 15-10. This next drive, I think for me, was a key one because it was a not as many plays, but it was a huge amount of yards each time. So the Cleveland Browns would end up scoring on a Nick Chubb 18-yard run where he was just untouched. And it was interesting to see the D end kind of bit and decided to go towards the inside. And almost like as if it was going to be through Nick Chubb was going to run through the guard and the left tackle. But actually, he ended up peeling off on the outside of the left tackle, and I'd have to go back and look for sure. But whoever the receiver was really did block very well on that outside, and Nick Chubb did not get touched or was even in the vicinity of a Kansas City Chiefs defender, and walked right into the end zone. And I think for me, you could sense in the stadium that really was like a morale. Like people's morale were starting to go down just because, and you could hear people around you, like he was just untouched. There was nobody in the area. And that really was kind of alarming to me. They did score with 2 minutes and 55 seconds in the second quarter. People were kind of excited about that because obviously, Mahomes in this offense can drive down the field. It gave him plenty of time. And one of the big things that I wanted to talk about real quick was the fact that Andy Reid always defers to the second half. He always wants to receive the football in the second half. So with us being down 22-10 after that run by Nick Chubb, and with 2 minutes and 55 seconds remaining, in my mindset, I was like, man, the Chiefs have every opportunity to drive down the field, score, and then get the ball back after halftime and could potentially drive down and score again. And this game really kind of swings. And because the momentum was with Cleveland for the entire first half, it just seemed like they were just eating yards, doing kind of whatever they could on the offensive side of the football. And so, that really was my thought if we could have scored, but that didn't unfortunately happen. Third quarter starts, and immediately Clyde is being fed the rock. They're running the ball, and they're actually gaining some pretty decent yardage, which we'll see. That leads to a 14-play, 75-yard, 7-minute, and 33-second drive. They would score a touchdown on Travis Kelce's a pass from Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce. They would score with 7 minutes and 27 seconds left in the third quarter. They really did eat a chunk of the third quarter. That was an 11-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes. It made the score 22-17. And then really the third quarter, I think, is where it started to swing. We made a series of key situations. There was, the punt block that happened. It wasn't really a block. It was a botched snap. And the punter rolls out to his right, and you could just sense it right there. The swing of the game started to change there. Nick Chubb fumbles the football, and Ben Neiman just jumps on that thing. So you could sense with the turnovers, it really started to change the momentum of the Kansas City Chiefs. We would end up with 32 seconds left in the third quarter. Harrison Butker would kick a 43-yard field goal. That was a 10-play, 28 yards, which is interesting because you really weren't chunking off yards there. It took 5 minutes and 24 seconds. It would make the score 22-10 or 22-20, excuse me. Fourth quarter would roll around, and again, the running game for Cleveland was very dominant this game. That's going to be my biggest takeaway, and we'll talk about that. But Kareem Hunt would run in a 2-yard run. It was a 9-play, 75-yard, 5-minute, and 8-second drive. They would score a touchdown with 10:24 remaining in the fourth. That would put them up 29-20. Then Tyree Hill immediately, it took, as you guys can see right there, 14 seconds for a Tyree Hill 75-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes. That right there is one play, 75 yards, 14 seconds. It was, again, a play where Patrick Mahomes rolls out, makes something happen, sees Tyreek streaking across, just launches it. Tyreek makes the adjustment, explains in the postgame how difficult that is for a DB to even, kind of hang with the receiver, let alone Tyreek Hill, who has just insane incredible speed. So makes the adjustment, catches the football, and it's a one-play 75-yard touchdown, which I think was very significant. It was one play. It took 14 seconds, and really, to me, that was a huge turn. That made it 29-27. And then the final touchdown that would seal the deal officially for the scoring would be Travis Kelce again with an 8-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes. They did fail on the 2-point conversion, which I think the play was kind of I wish they would have came up with a better play. It was kind of a rollout, forced it to the right side, and yeah, it was just I wish they would have picked a different play. But Travis Kelce with 2 touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes. There was still 7 minutes and 4 seconds left in the entire fourth quarter. That drive was 3 plays, 15 yards for a minute and 32. Yeah, and then really from there, the Chiefs would get the football back. They would start to drive, but then Mahomes got sacked, which then forced the punt. And then they started to drive. Kareem Hunt had a play where, he broke off a decent amount of yards, got to about halfway to midfield. Then the pressure just started to get to Baker. Baker throws the football, and then Mike Hughes intercepts it, and then we get the kneel downs in the ball game. So final score was 33-29. I did predict a 32-28 win for the Chiefs, so I was really close, which I think is pretty incredible. Just because, it's a prediction, you're guessing. And so, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So we're going to go to the box score real quick. And so we're going to kind of go through some of the statistics that go along with kind of what I was telling you guys. So as you guys can see, Baker Mayfield was 21 of 28, 321 yards, average 11.5 yards. Did not throw a touchdown. Because the Jarvis Landry was a handoff. So he did not throw a touchdown. He had 1 interception to end the game. His QBR was 68.4 and his rating was 97.5. So Baker truly did have a pretty solid day. He was sacked twice for 17 yards. Nick Chubb on the ground, incredible day for only carrying the football 15 times. He snapped off 83 yards, averaged 5.5 yards. Him and Kareem Hunt did the same, 2 touchdowns. And had a long of 18. Kareem had 6 carries, 33, 5.5 average, and a touchdown. So from that right there, it tells me that the running game was very, very easy for them. And if they kind of would have stuck with that, I'm kind of interested to see how the game would have went. But some of the other ones obviously were quick plays, jet sweeps, things like that. Jarvis did get a couple of them. They did try a trick play where they handed it off to – it was kind of a weird wraparound. You see Jarvis kind of lean towards the backfield. Baker hands it to him, and you could tell Jarvis was going to end up throwing it, but decides to run with it and gets a decent amount of yards. So there was that play for Jarvis, and then obviously the touchdown that he ran in. Receiving, David Njoku. There was a couple times where L'Jarius Sneed was expected to cover the tight end. One of his big chunk plays was actually L'Jarius did pretty much what he was supposed to. That's just a big man that goes up and catches the football, and that's what happened. So Njoku leads the team with 3 receptions, 76 yards, had 5 targets, averaged 25.3. For a tight end, that's pretty solid. So that 43-yarder, though, I do believe that's the one that L'Jarius great coverage, just couldn't do anything about it. Jarvis Landry, 5 for 71, had 5 targets, averaged 14.2, 71 yards. Swartz was very impressive. 3 for 39 or 69, averaged 23. His long was 44. That play really, I believe, was a miscommunication. And then Thornhill absolutely just got burnt on that play. And it could have probably been a touchdown if Swartz didn't bobble it and kind of just fall down. So that was one that kind of stood out to me. He did have 5 targets. Kareem Hunt, Austin Hooper, Nick Chubb, Harrison Bryant. Baker Mayfield had 1, and that was kind of I think on the fluke play. Donovan Peoples-Jones and Andy Janovich. So as you can see right there, that is the Cleveland receiving. Nick Chubb did have a fumble, and Jamie Gillen had a fumble as well and he recovered it back. So Anthony Walker, coming over from the Indianapolis Colts, led the team with 9 total tackles, 8 solo tackles. Really, this defense was pretty impressive. I was paying attention to them because I think that they did have a great defense coming in. Jadeveon Clowney did play. Myles Garrett, obviously, an absolute monster. So those guys really did, play pretty well. So that's their defense. Greedy Williams was out there. Harrison Bryant, Greg Newsome got the start, was out there. And so Malik Jackson was one that I paid attention to a lot. Their front seven is very good and will continue to get better as they continue to play. But now let's get over to the Kansas City Chiefs side. Patrick Mahomes, 27 of 36, 337 yards, averaged 9.4 for 3 touchdowns, was sacked twice for 13 yards. He had a QBR of 88 and a rating of 131.4. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 14 carries for 43 yards, averaged 3.1. That's one thing for me after revamping this offensive line. I hope to see that average go up. But I'm not, raising any types of flags or saying this is a warning sign. This was the first game, and they're still kind of learning each other's tendencies. A lot of that, I believe, came in the second half. Clyde really, coming into the third quarter, when the third quarter kicked off, Clyde really was fed the rock quite a bit and was getting some decent yardage. So Patrick Mahomes scrambles, gets 5 for 18 for a touchdown. Darrell, Tyreek, Blake Bell, and Michael Burton. Blake Bell's one carry was on a QB sneak. It was a pretty cool play. Tyreek Hill, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most impressive stat lines. I just think it shows you Tyreek Hill's ability to be a wide receiver in the NFL. He had 11 receptions on 15 targets for 197 yards. He basically went up and down the football field twice, scored a touchdown, had that one absolute monster hit of 75 yards. So as you can see, that's a long. Travis Kelce, 6 for 7, 76 yards with 2 touchdowns. One of the biggest things, guys, is they're averaging 17.9 and 12.7. I think Tyreek's, even without the 75, would have been well over 10. So those guys are chunking plays, and I mean, they're really getting some good yardage. So one of the things for me, though, that I really took from this game was, again, we're starting to see the versatility of and why they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So we saw that he actually rushed, he rushed for 14 carries, 43 yards, but then he also had 3 receptions, targeted 3 times, some quick dump offs for 29 yards, and averaged 9.7. And when you get Clyde out in the open field, he is pretty shifty. So I liked to see that, and I think we'll see that probably more incorporated. And Clyde actually lined up out on the receiver spot on the outside a series of times yesterday. So, but yeah, Mecole Hardman only had 3. DeMarcus had 1. Byron Pringle had 1. Blake Bell 1, and Mike Rimmers, which that play, holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen. We run that same play to Travis Kelce. They decided to do it with Mike Rimmers. It backfired and did not work out for them. So, but overall, those are the stats for them. Ben Neiman did recover the fumble off of Nick Chubb. Defensive, one of the things for me, L'Jarius Sneed, 7 solos. Juan Thornhill played tremendously for what he could do. I initially was kind of down on Juan just because I was watching my original thoughts, but after watching and recapping the game again, I really think Juan had a pretty decent game, especially for not having the Honey Badger there and kind of having Dan Sorensen. When you have a vocal leader who's kind of assist, not telling you every time, but can assist with you and tell you, hey, maybe look for this or line up here or do this. Dan Sorensen doesn't necessarily do that. And for what they were able to do, I think I'm okay with that. And I really went and tried to pay attention to the secondary. I think for me, some of the biggest things was there were some very good man-to-man situations. Charvarius Ward, I think, played great on Jarvis Landry at times. He had Donovan Peoples-Jones. There were a couple plays where Charvarius Ward did everything he could, and it's just you're going against an NFL receiver who made a tremendous catch. So, I think for the most part for this first game, I don't want to bash the defense too much because I think they will progressively get better. And it was a very good opponent. who was missing Odell Beckham for the first game. So I just wanted to kind of get that out there. As you guys can see, though, the rest of the stats for the defense, it really did kind of play out. And, I think the tide started turning. The fans really got into it, ladies and gentlemen. The fans started to get into this game. Chris Jones had people fired up. Travis Kelce, after scoring his second touchdown, had everybody just fired up. So got the crowd back into it, which helps, and everything like that. But kicking, it was good to see Harrison Butker 2 for 2. Did not miss an extra point, which we know that can be an issue. So it did not play out yesterday. And those are the stats for this game. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the screen off, and I'm back. So some of the takeaways, I'm going to kind of just recap just to wrap this thing up. I'm going to go over real quick, which you guys will see. It'll pop up. Creed Humphrey played 100% of the time. Joe Tooney, Lucas Niang, Orlando Brown, and Trey Smith, along with Patrick Mahomes, played 100% of the snaps. Tyree Kill was out there for 88% of the snaps. Travis Kelce, 85. Demarcus Robinson, 74. Clyde was out there for 72, which you do expect a little, him to be the lead back, but there was times where Darrell had to come on and block in third down situations. One thing that I kind of wanted to see a little bit more was maybe Jerick McKinnon incorporated, but maybe they're just trying to get Clyde ready to roll. Mecole Hardman was out there for 69%. Then it really kind of just trickled off. Blake Bell, 29. Darrell Williams, 22. Pringle, 17. Noah Gray, 11. Fortson, 11. Kemp, and Burton. On the defensive side, L'Jarius Sneed, Dan Sorensen, Javarius, those two, Sneed and Sorensen, were out there 100% of the time. Javarius Ward, 98. Thornhill, 95. Chris Jones, 80. And then from down there, it really just kind of continued to degress, basically. Hitchens, 80. I would have been interested to see if he would have been out there for 100. He did get kind of banged up. It came off for a little bit. I think it led into halftime, and then he was back out there after halftime. So Mike Danis, 78. Nick Bolton, 76. Ben Neiman, 68. They really did run a lot of their base defense yesterday. I was kind of trying to pay attention to see if they run nickel, but with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt running the ball a lot, they went base a lot. So you had sets where Nick Bolton, Ben Neiman, and Anthony Hitchens were all out there at the same time. Reed was out there for 68. Wharton was out there 61. Hughes 56 with the clutch interception to seal the game. Alex Okafor 46. Derek Nottie 32%. Watts was 24. Kane Doe played 20% of the time, and Kalen Saunders 19. So really kind of breaking that down so you guys can see that. But my final thoughts, guys, are honestly, I was satisfied with this game. I think that it really kind of shows you that the Kansas City Chiefs have the opportunity when missing players. They have the ability to win football games when they need to, and they showed that yesterday. They forced turnovers. They really kind of forced the hand and did what they had to do to win a tough football game. But it shows you too when you need players. And I think after really kind of, like I said, recapping the game, there were moments, players did get exposed in some things. Excuse me. We had some rookies that, obviously Nick Bolton's still learning some of the NFL. And, there's other guys too that are learning what it's like to be a Kansas City Chief and what the expectations are and things like that. So for it being the first full game, and I was okay with it. I really was. I think the offense really dominated and showed what they're capable of doing. This defense will progressively get better. Spags is probably working and grilling them right now on, hey, this is what you should have done. This is what we need to get better on. And I was okay with the special teams as well. I think the special teams really performed pretty well. So a great first win. We go to Baltimore next, which we'll do a recap or a breakdown of. And but yeah, Cleveland, tough game. They're gonna have a great season as if they can stay healthy. I mean, they needed Odell, but if they can stay healthy and get their guys out there, I would expect this to be a playoff team for sure. But I appreciate you guys checking out the Beat of KC. Definitely hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought of the game. Were you at the game? If so, where were you sitting? Things like that. But I really do appreciate you guys checking out the Beat of KC. And as always, have a good day.